This is for the players.
I'm Ryan Betson.
I'm Max Cooper.
And this is For the Players, the pop culturist PlayStation podcast. With over 40 years of playing PlayStation and 5+ years in that games community combined. I'd like to thank you for joining us in this PlayStation conversation.
This PlayStation conversation happens every Monday morning at 8 a.m. on podcast services, including Spotify, and 9 a.m. on those YouTubes. If you'd like to be part of future conversations, head on over to our Facebook, our Discord, Instagram, Twitter. All the links are in the description below.
If you want to join the conversation as this happens and watch me flub this intro 3 times, you can join us at twitch.tv/thepopculturist, just like a handful of people are right now. Coming to watch us chat PlayStation. Now, one thing we'd like you to do, if you would be so kind, would be share the conversation. Tell your friends, tell your families about this little PlayStation pod. Look, we know it's tough right now, but if you did want to, you can support us financially at patreon.com/thepopculturist, as well as our merchandise store, popculturist.com/shop, where you can buy shirts and other assorted shit with our logos on it. Only took 3 attempts.
No. Buddy got it right. We nailed it first go.
Yeah, nailed it. Yeah, thanks, buddy.
Nailed it first go.
Buddy was there. He was counting for us. So I thought it was 3 times, but I think he nailed it. It's 1 time. How are you, Max?
Yeah, not too bad, mate. Yourself?
I'm pretty well. I'm a bit spacey in the head, apparently. I've come to learn this morning. So this could be whole kinds of fucked up an episode. I don't know how this is going to go, but we'll see. How's your week been?
Yeah, not too bad. I mean, just work.
Yeah.
Had to take the kid to the doctors the other night. She's got what appears to be like a cyst on the bottom of her thumb.
Ow.
So it's all pussy and gross, and she's taken a liking to sucking on her whole hand. So we're like, we should take her to the doctors and make sure that's all good. And they're like, nah, pus is fine to eat. Don't stress.
Ew.
If it doesn't go away in a couple of days, come back and we'll give you some antibiotic cream.
I have mixed emotions about your doctor's opinions.
Well, I mean, take for example, if they get is it mastitis? For pregnant women when they're breastfeeding?
Yeah.
They still recommend breastfeeding your child. They're like, it's fine. The stomach acid just eats it all up apparently, and it's all Gucci. It's disgusting, but apparently there's nothing wrong with it.
It's uncomfortable, is the one thing. Well, I haven't had any cysts this week, so that's pretty sweet.
What was that? Sorry,
I haven't had any cysts this week, so that's positive. We'll get this straight off the bat. Ryan, get less fat update number 4.
Yeah, I think 4.
Yeah, 4.
5?
10 kilos gone, ladies and gentlemen. I have lost 2 whole big fucking bags of potatoes. 10 kilos down as of Wednesday. So I'm 10.3 kilos now. So I'm a little bit over, which is fantastic for me. I'm feeling sexy, And that's the whole thing. It's all about, as I said, getting pretty for PAX.
Yeah.
If it happens.
I mean, we'll still be pretty by PAX, even if it doesn't.
Well, because you're on the shake too now, Max.
I am now on the shake. Now, I messaged you the other morning because caramel is not good by itself.
No, it isn't. It's really sweet. You need to mix that shit with something else.
So I've got coffee to mix that with, but the choc mint goes all right.
Well, I did go to the shops today. I bought a new shaker from IGA so I can rotate the 2 of them. And then there was no mint. Otherwise I would have picked up the mint. Oh, lots of love in the chat from everyone. Thank you, Cass. Cass put on the 10 kilos I lost apparently, which is fascinating.
All the burgers that he eats.
On top of that, Splendor Ziltoy goes, what happened to Max? Looks like he's having a rough one.
Yeah. Did not sleep well last night. Having young child does that to you.
Buddy says, go Ryan, maybe I should get on the shakes. Well, as of right now, look, this is how it's working. So, I'm doing the shakes. Max is doing the shakes. Previous co-host and co-founder of Pop Culturist, Josh Saunders, is also on the shakes. I don't know whether he's still going hard on them though, but a good mutual friend, Craig from the Mullet Show, is on the shakes. My boss, Paris, is on the shakes. That's 6 people, including myself, that have made the switch. And like, there's just losing kilos everywhere. It's fucking awesome.
So what happened is we all gave up drinking, and now we've all got the shakes.
Yeah, well, look, it came around the period of panic buying in the supermarket. Like, let's just replace the food that we should have been buying with just meal replacement shakes, and then we'll see what happens. Oh, and Dash as well. Dash has been on them for 3 weeks as well. So that's 7. That many. 7 people on the shakes. It's good times. It's a good time to be shaken. What about you, Max? Where's your numbers game at? Where are you in totals?
Honestly, don't know, but I've only started doing it properly from last week.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, because as we mentioned, you've changed your diet from the start of the year. You did that diet pill speed for a little bit.
So since the start of the year, I've lost just over 20 kilos.
20 kilos, hell yeah, that's fucking phenomenal. Phenomenal, by the way. Which goes to show just how fat I was. Dude, that's the total thing. Like, because I remember being like 129 kilos or whatever, and I was like, oh, I thought I was pretty fucking fat then. I had no idea how even fatter I got. So it's actually incredibly positive in that way. And Dash is 7 kilos down.
So
I want to do a collective total at the end of this year, and I want to see how many hundreds of kilos we can lose. Although we're not talking about PlayStation right now, and we will. This is an important part of us. This is keeping us accountable. So I think if we pile that shit together, and then we say at the end of this year, we as a show, we as a community lost a total of X amount of kilos, and I'm very looking forward to that day. Buddy in the chat says, killing it. Congrats, Max.
Yeah, we're getting there.
We're getting there. It's a good time. But anyway, regardless about us being fat, because that's we can talk about that next week because it's not going away. It's going away slowly, but not that fast. Max, what have you been playing this week?
So I jumped back into Rocket League this week. They've got a new limited game mode running this weekend.
Oh, yeah?
So it's Heat Seeker mode. Basically, you hit the ball and it will automatically home into the enemy's goals.
I like it already.
Every time it gets hit, like if a volley gets going, it gets faster and faster and faster and curves more and more towards the goals until it's just impossible to save.
So just everyone's on the defense at all times?
Yeah, pretty much.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah,
the only problem that I have is I never mastered the aerial stuff in Rocket League, so I'd like and just go straight over me into the goal.
So it's 3v3, first to 7 wins.
Awesome. Have you had a win?
Good fun. Oh yeah, more losses than wins though.
Yeah. That's why I stopped playing. I just kept losing all the time.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Yeah. I jumped back into Neo 2 for a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I still suck. Still stuck on the same level. Jumped back into Resident Evil 2 Remake for a little bit. Man, that game's good. And then I've just been grinding out Persona 5 Royal.
Nice.
So I'm about 25 hours deep, and I just finished the second palace.
Very good. Very, very cool.
What about yourself? What have you been doing?
I myself, not a whole lot because it's been a bit of a busy work week. And then obviously wrestling stuff has taken on. I jumped into Fallout 76 again. I checked out the Wastelanders update. It does feel better with NPCs. Yes. Because it adds what it's missing. Because like, it's nice to see someone and go, oh, I don't think you're trying to kill me. That's pretty cool. I like you already.
So, is there a vast... Because I was watching the stream for a bit, but I had to duck out. Is there a lot of NPCs, or is it just a few scattered here and there?
It is its whole own storyline that I didn't really dive too far into initially on the stream, but as I played a little bit more, it's kind of expanded out. But yeah, so you meet a handful of NPCs out front of Vault 76. There has been this radio transmission that there is a treasure buried under Appalachia, and that is why everyone is flocking to there in order to find the treasure. So previously in that area it was just everyone that had left the vault, but now everyone's coming here. So I've seen like a good 10 or so at the moment, which is cool. Like it does add a little bit. I've ran into a couple because for some reason, I remember building a camp last time I played, but it's been so long, who knows where it is, or whether it just dismantled itself because of the game. So I rebuilt a small hut, and I was hiding out in this forest, and this dude was up and he's like, hey, how you going? I'm like, hey, NPC man, what are you doing? He's like, nah, nothing. And then he starts holding a rock next to me. I'm like, this is going to be fun.
It sounds about right.
But yeah, no, it does. It adds a little bit more to the world. I remember playing Flight 76 at launch, and I enjoyed it somewhat. Like, I didn't hate it initially.
Josh was really into it, wasn't he?
Yeah, Josh and his son, they had a great time just piss farting around the map together. It wore its welcome out really fast for them, and I agree at the same. There was a window, I went, nah. And then something else shiny came along, so I ended up playing that instead. And I think I might do the same here. I've still got to download. I might go back because like I enjoy in small bursts. Like after you've been a year and a half away from it, it's like all right, cool. No, I enjoyed this. This is fun. But then there's other things that I need to finish, like Final Fantasy VII. So I have played it more since last week. I'm seeing about 18 hours in. So I've. What was the last thing I did? I just did the Colosseum. For context,
Yep.
I
know where you are.
Yeah. I just did the Colosseum. That was a bunch of fun, actually. The final boss in that Colosseum, I was like, oh, that's not as hard as I anticipated. It's a bit disappointing. But
it's funny you should say that because I struggled hard on that Colosseum boss.
Oh, really? I didn't at all.
And it's because I wasn't doing it properly.
Is that the one you mentioned you were having a rough time with?
Yeah. Yeah. I was trying to brute force it because I didn't have the correct material equipped that I needed, and I refused to just quit out and just rejig my characters. I just kept bashing my head against the wall until
That's smart, cool. And today I jumped into a game from 2 years back called Strange Brigade.
Okay.
Yeah, this is made by Rebellion. It's the team behind Zombie Army and Sniper Elite and stuff like that.
Okay.
It's part of the Easter sale right now. It's like $15 for the fuck off edition that comes with everything. It came recommended to me by my boss. Now, my boss, he plays games because we both work in a games department of a bigger disability service, so that our entire job is to know games. But with our current schedules, he tends to play less than I do, and I fucking push my schedule hard in order to play games. And he's like, I've been playing this game nonstop, you should probably get it. I'm like, all right, if it comes recommended from Paris, I know I'm pretty confident that it's gonna play at least all right. So I jumped in, I played about half hour of it before I came into this. It's initial thoughts, it's charming. It does feel a little AA, it feels like a high-end AA game, which I'm really liking already. It has this narrator. So the Strange Brigade is essentially this group of ragtag individuals that get thrown together to go stop this supernatural thing from happening in Egypt. The unleash of this supernatural being. So you get dropped into this island in the first sort of tutorial level. It teaches you all the basic running around, shooting and climbing, that sort of stuff. And it's charming. In half an hour, I'm like, ooh, I'm gonna want to spend more time on you. And it's multiplayer, so
nice.
Maybe we can, he and I can play external to work, even though I'm pretty sure he wants to see less of me because we only see each other at work all the time. But yeah, no, I'm gonna put some more into it. I'm enjoying it, but then on top of that, I still haven't touched Persona 5 Royal.
Have you I also noticed a distinct lack of Elder Scrolls Online after you made me download it.
Oh no, I played it. I played it on stream, and it was just more of that. Because in order to play that, I need to be in this room because it's on the PC. So it's all about finding a good hunk of time. So tonight, maybe I might sit down and give it a whirl because I can allocate time on on the weekend. So if you're interested tonight, we can give Elder Scrolls Online a whirl. I created a Dark Elf character because that's my go-to.
I did the same. I made a Dark Elf Necromancer, and then all of a sudden I was super high level and in an area that I'd never seen before.
Well, I
think they start in a different area to...
So I bought it with the Elsewhere DLC that came with Somerset and Morrowind, and yeah, like I'm in Elsewhere. I'm with a bunch of catfolk. I'm like that.
Yeah.
First time I played this, I was in like a graveyard of some sorts. So
I'm the same. I upgraded my copy for I think $8 a copy.
Yeah. So I thought it was a bit weird that like they didn't let me go back to where I was. I thought maybe that would be the general starting point.
Well, I wonder if there's a setting that we've just missed and it's just skipped us to the start of the latest DLC area.
It is possible, but I have to have a look at that. But yeah.
Kicking us from the start.
But we'll chip away a little bit more at that tonight because just one of those. I was thinking that I'm needing a bit of a more long-termy sort of game to sort of help under these current circumstances. And ESO seemed like something that could line me up that way because the issue that I had with like WoW, I didn't really know and / care about the whole Warcraft lore. Like that's the reason I found so much love with DC Universe Online because at the time I was like balls deep in comics, man. So like every little nitty gritty reference and stuff within DCUO, I'm having an absolute blast. And here, there's a lot of cool lore that I like about the Elder Scrolls. Now, granted, having it be set like X amount of 1,000 years prior to like Skyrim or Morrowind or Oblivion does change it. But the base is there, and that base is what's keeping me knowing where this world is going and where the world is set. And that's actually making it much easier for me to enjoy.
Oh, that's good.
But yeah, that's pretty good. Other than that, I think that's it. That's everything I played. Yes.
How's your Animal Crossing going?
Oh, great. I've just there is a wrestling ring in there, and I've heard about this. So my plan right now it's not PlayStation related, but Animal Crossing is to get a wrestling ring in my town. I have a mask, I have boots, I have tights. I'm full ready to go.
Well, I was watching a stream this morning, and they're playing Survivor using Animal Crossing. So they're going to someone's island. This person is hosting a bunch of mini games, and they're playing Survivor with their friends. Like they're voting people off the island. And it kind of sounds cool. Kind of makes you want to pick up the game.
Amazing, actually.
Yeah.
I'm not that creative, but I love that idea. I love that idea so much. But yeah, Animal Crossing's brilliant. It's one, as I said, it's one of the games I start my day with it and end my day with it. Play a little bit there, and then just leave it for the most of the day. Actually made a profit on my turnips this week, which I didn't do last week because I was a dickhead and I let it go all the way to the end. But what are you going to do? Okay, that's enough about what we've been playing. Let's get into the news this week in a section we call Inform the Players. We tell you about what happened this week in PlayStation. Now, Max, normally we have a section later on called Chat to the Players where we chat about one specific topic, a main topic, if you will. But with this week, there being nothing super massive to talk about, we've decided to take all these small little bits of news, and that's the show. But it's a bunch of small news today. It's a big old news fest. Not a snooze fest, a news fest. For those, some of you, it may also be a snooze fest. I'm not ruling that out.
Well, since you mentioned Supermassive, let's kick it off there. And Supermassive have been talking DualSense. So Supermassive Games, the studio behind beloved PS4 exclusive horror Until Dawn, as well as the more recent Dark Pictures anthology games, during an interview with Game Reactor, co-founder Pete Samuels was asked about the DualSense, and it sounds like the studio is inspired by the controller's new features. Quote, "We've been having some chats about that for a little while now, about how we're going to use it," he says, indicating the team is, quote, "already having some discussions about how best to take advantage of the features, like haptic feedback, the whole tactile thing, as much as we can transfer what you'd expect the character's experience to be directed back to the player. I think the better attachment you feel to the characters," Samuel teases. He also comments on the possibility of using the built-in microphone to allow players to make decisions with voice commands.
That I like. The voice command is cool. I was thinking about this in terms of where it would go, right? Because so with Supermassive, they're known for their horror-inspired shared storytelling games. So I was thinking, like, when I saw the headline for this article, they want to use the DualSense. I'm like, cool, all right. Haptic feedback is a great way to, get, like, demonstrate fear and trembling. Like, maybe you're trying to get a task done in the game, but the controller won't stop, like, mildly shaking. And or even if you're trying to hide from some sort of attacker or creature, and the mic suddenly starts picking up any minute noise. All these little things that I think could be cool ways to implement it into a horror style game, but I
like the idea of using the microphone of, like, if you're hiding from something that's chasing you and it's picking up. If you're making sound, then your character will make sound, then you could be found. But I can also see that would be so totally annoying if it doesn't block out the sound properly.
And it would be, because, like, I have a child. So, and I'm trying to play this spooky horror game, and child's like, Daddy! And next thing you know, this creature comes out of the nowhere and just monts my face off.
Or even if you're not playing with headphones on and your TV's too loud, and the creature growls too loudly, and your microphone picks it up, and then it's like, hey, I know where you are now.
He found himself and then eats me.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is 100% a concern. What's your thoughts on this?
I mean, it makes sense. I can't wait to see what a lot of developers are going to do with this, the haptic feedback that they're going to be able to pull out of this thing. I'm not so keen about the microphone stuff. I mean, we've got a microphone currently in PS4. You can use voice commands in PS4 at the moment.
If you're using a headset or the camera,
they're pretty gnarly. So that could be an issue, I guess. I mean,
in terms of the DualSense, I think this is more integration for what would become PlayStation Assistant, kind of like an Alexa or something like that, which is cool. Zill in the chat mentions about a mic that can't be muted, and then Buddy comes in and corrects it. There is, in fact, a mute button on the controller.
Yeah,
which is cool, because that was my concern as well. Like, if we can't disable that mic, then that's bunch of shit. You know what I mean? But they would have to take that into account. But then again, people were like, what? My controller's listening to my every thought. Hey, Google, can you pull up privacy? You know what I mean? Like, the understanding that we are being recorded all the time, and a lot of people have let that into their house. So the idea of your console doing it is, you know what I mean? But we should also mention that it was announced this week that the next Supermassive game in the Dark Pictures anthology is called Little Hope is coming out at the back end of this year.
Yeah, so it'll come out our winter, I believe.
Yeah, I think it's summer in the US.
And a new trailer dropped yesterday or the day before.
Did you play the previous one?
No, I haven't yet, but I've been meaning to jump on and get it because I think
it's on sale right now. Easter sales, just saying.
Yeah, I know Ali would be keen to play it with me because it's co-op to a degree, isn't it?
Yeah, so there's a mode where
there's multiplayer functionality to it.
Yeah, there's a mode where you can play as one character, but there's one where you can allocate characters to each individual person. So I think Josh and I did it on a stream once where there were 5 characters. I played 2, he played 3, and we just sort of did what we could. So when there was something involving that character, the control would be passed to him or it'd be passed to me, and so on and so on. You know what I mean? But like that might be a good way for you and your wife to play together. But if not, maybe you play like one person controls and you decision make together or something.
Yeah.
But
that'll most likely be what ends up happening.
So I've played it. I have my son's in here and he's making angry faces.
Sorry.
He's cropped off camera. So I never finished Man of Medan. I got like halfway through it, I think.
Yep.
And then I got distracted, and then I started again one time, got about to the same point, and stopped again. So like I know it's only like 6-ish hours long, so I really could just jump in there and finish her off, and I think I will. When? I have no idea. But like I enjoy it. It's like reasonably good spooks. It's not bad spooks.
Reasonably good spooks. I really liked was it Until Dawn?
Until Dawn was really cool. I didn't finish that one either. For some reason, those chapter-based narrative stories really don't land for me, and I get bored of them kind of quick.
I mean, to be fair, they're not exactly action-orientated. It's more like a visual novel to a degree. So I can get why it doesn't click for you. But
yeah, I think that's right. I'm trying to think, like, I said, but there was this one time that that didn't happen at all. So I think pretty consistently, because the Telltale games didn't grab me either.
Yeah.
So I have a feeling I'm that guy. I will sit here and talk about how much I enjoy stories in games, and then be like, "Here's a game that's all story." I'm like, "Nah."
But see, you really like Death Stranding. And
I
would
love
argue that's
Death
more,
Stranding.
and I would argue that's more story than game.
Yeah, but there's a lot more interactivity, even in Death Stranding.
Yeah. I mean, you do have to walk everywhere.
That's true. That's not too bad. But it's a bit more choice. What else we got, Max? What's the next bit of news?
Well, do you want to read some?
Yeah, let's try.
Because otherwise I'm going to be.
Yeah, you'll just be
like 3 pages worth of news to just churn through.
All right. Well, in that case, I'll go to the top of the list and let's talk about Assassin's Creed PS5 reveal. May just be around the corner. Then we should mention majority of our pieces of news come from Push Square because they are a fantastic place for all your written PlayStation content. Ubisoft will have the next installment of its Assassin's Creed franchise ready for this holiday to coincide with the launch of the PS5. That we can be almost certain of, according to Push Square. And it looks like the French publisher is getting ready to spill the beans on this alleged Viking-themed departure. One reliable insider has tweeted that news on the next entry will be coming soon. Shinobi602, who runs communications at Wushu Studios and is known as a trustworthy source alongside the likes of Jason Schreier, who just, also side note, left Kotaku this week. That's pretty huge. And Daniel Ahmad said that, quote, "We're almost there," end quote, when asked about the next Assassin's Creed title. It is a fairly vague response, but with where the industry is headed right now, we can see some sort of announcement taking place next month, with rumblings of multiple Xbox Series X events are doing the rounds, while Sony will have to talk about the PS5 once more sooner or later. A next-gen version of Assassin's Creed would suit any one of those console reveals perfectly. What do you think, Max?
Yeah, it makes sense for them to. Well, hopefully we hear an announcement soon, and hopefully it's not. It's been in the works, but we're not gonna. It's not gonna make it in time. So hopefully this is one of the stories that is, we've got it in the bags. We're gonna have it done. We're gonna have it ready. It's gonna come out. If it launches with the new consoles, great. What a good way to kickstart the new generation.
Well, because it happened with PS4. Like there was Black Flag was also on technically a launch title for the PS4 and the Xbox One.
But with how the Assassin's Creed games have changed since over the last two title releases, I think this is prime for a new console generation.
Yeah, and it's certainly a great way to start the generation because if we think about most console. What are the release games? They all tend to kind of suck pretty hard, and yeah, at least with Ubisoft, that we know it's going to be of a certain level, presumably. Except we can take it into account like Ghost Recon Breakpoint, but this is a pretty massive RPG to kick it off, and especially when there's going to be a presumably long window of release, mostly because of ready access. And then if in the PS5 does drop in Christmas, it's not this roll-on effect of the delays will actually prevent a lot of games from coming out at launch. So this may help subside that window.
Yeah. So we've got a few people in the chat commenting. So Cass, not sure how I feel about Vikings Creed. You okay with Vikings?
Vikings are cool, man. Like the only thing that I'm unsure of, but I guess the same thing could be said for like Romans and shit too, like the Greek and the Egyptian one. Like I don't know how they're going to translate the climbing high and jumping off shit, because like Vikings, if I recall, like with my minimal understanding of Vikings, they don't have those massive structures for you to climb and jump off. Where even in like Egypt, I guess they had the pyramids, but even then they're not that ginormous. They had those cool little temples and stuff, but.
Yeah,
they found a way to bring it into Egypt and bring it into Greece. So I guess my hesitation's probably void. Really, what about you?
Lore-wise, Vikings are awesome. They always, they dive deep into Assassin's Creed games. Tend to do their research well. They dive deep into the lore and the history of the areas that they cover. Great. Especially if they do, I think they did. I can't remember if they did it in the Greek game, but I know in Origins they had like the virtual tours of Egypt.
Yeah,
they did and stuff like that. Rad.
Amazing idea, amazing. The Reverend Puck says Black Flag didn't suck as bad as Unity. But then Cass comes to Unity's defense. But yeah, Black Flag has a lot of things in it that have really inspired the most recent games in terms of
naval combat. The
naval combat, yeah, which I think also will then inspire. What's the other name? Skull and Bones, if that ever eventually comes out. I think it goes, years after release, was terrible at launch, says Puck. Buddy jumps in and goes, great way to get people that don't usually play Assassin's Creed, but getting the new consoles into their franchise. Because for me specifically, Assassin's Creed, I've enjoyed Origins, I enjoyed Odyssey, the rest I could give less shits about. But our plans, Max, is for us to get PS5s as close to launch as possible. A, for content, and 2, because I want one. And this may be what I need to get the ball rolling, for me personally. Yeah, well,
I mean, it makes sense. I remember when I got my PS4, there was nothing out for it. I think I ended up playing Warframe for 2 weeks straight because it was the new thing.
Just because it was there.
Thing. Yeah, it was the new thing that I could play on my new console.
Yeah. No,
Assassin's Creed's a pretty safe bet. They're generally not horrible games.
Yeah, and then that's that one thing. Ubisoft, aside from Breakpoint, everything else seems to come at least a reasonable standard. You know what I mean? There is a consistency of okay, cool. When I hear a Far Cry game is coming, because I imagine one will, I'm like, cool, all right, I know what to expect in a good way.
Yeah.
There is a comfort in that. Puck also adds, I don't see Vikings as graceful, so an assassin Viking would seem a bit to stick out. Now, I've not watched the TV series Vikings. They may have nimble Vikings. Edge is in there. We know Edge to be quite nimble. He's very prone to climbing ladders and jumping off them. Maybe that's where they're getting their inspiration from. Who knows?
I don't know, but they've done, they did pirates. They did American Indians, with the
third one.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how graceful of an assassin a pirate could be, for instance.
Well, only if they have both legs. If they have a wooden leg, it's a bit rough. But under normal dual-legged circumstances, I'm sure the pirates do.
Instead of the eagle flying up and scouting, you have a parrot.
That would have been amazing if they had that. All right, moving on, Max. What we got next?
A new Crysis, possibly.
Ooh.
So look away now, Crytek. Crysis Remastered has just leaked on Twitter through the official website's cookie policy of all places, with the remaster of the original game coming to PlayStation 4. Now scrubbed from the site, Twitter user @RobotBrush, not Robot Bush.
Although, great Twitter handle if you happen to be Robot Bush.
So Robot Brush managed to catch the description, quote, Crysis Remastered brings new graphic features, high-quality textures, and the CryEngine's native hardware and API-agnostic ray tracing solution for PC, PlayStation, Xbox, and for the very first time, Nintendo Switch, end quote. The key art... I didn't put it in. What's more, if you're finding this hard to believe, known industry insider Daniel Ahmad just tweeted that this is all, quote, very real.
I'm fucking baffled right now, Max. All right, because I remember there being a time where Crytek was the benchmark for PCs.
Crysis is still the benchmark for PCs.
Oh, really?
And apparently we can run it on Switch now?
Fuck! That I can't believe. I cannot believe they're going to get that bad boy running on Switch. It's going to look so bum.
But it's got built-in ray tracing. It can't look bum.
That's true. Ray tracing does add a lot. However, once again, because this being a very PC prominent franchise, I've never really given it a burl. Have you spent time with Crysis?
I own it. I've never played it though.
Okay, so this is not something that'll have your interest whenever this news does drop or it comes available.
I don't think so.
Do you think there is a market for Crysis now? Shooters have drastically changed since the original Crysis, or even Crysis 3, which did come on PlayStation.
Yeah, honestly, I don't know. It's interesting. I wonder if this is let's remaster it to get back in the news, and they're going to announce a Crysis 4.
Potentially.
Maybe this is a way to just get talk happening about the series, so they can reboot it.
Well, it's one of those things, right? So with when it comes to like PC performance, right? If this is the baseline benchmark that it is, you would presume this would be PS5. But the way that PCs are growing in terms of their power, even when this next generation comes out, PCs may in fact still overrun the next generation of consoles, right? So, but do you think they will endeavor to be, bring, if they do create a Crysis 4 and try to put it on PS5?
Well, I mean, with the specs that the PS5 is, well, what they supposedly have, it should run fine. I don't see why they wouldn't try and bridge that gap and get it out to more people. I mean, it's more money in their pockets at the end of the day. The bigger their audience, the more sales, the more potential sales they have.
Yeah, very true. But there is that concern when it comes to restricting to a console, and this is a good segue into this next story about the Outer Worlds. So the Outer Worlds might have not had the biggest environments or to explore on the PS4, with the likes of Fallout 4 and The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt dwarfing it easily. But at least those locations were fairly detailed. However, it could have been so much better, allegedly. In an interview with Danny O'Dwyer as part of NoClip, developer Obsidian reveals how the RPG experience was held back by the memory constraints of the current generation consoles. While discussing the Groundbreaker, the second location in the game that you explore, senior game designer Brian Haynes explains how the setting was originally split between 3 separate levels, each featuring a load screen. This was too much for the team, and so it decided to create a single cohesive environment, which brought about its own problems. Areas such as the medical bay had to be tweaked in order to work on the station's main promenade, as well as a few other locations, as the single setting now blew past the memory constraints of the PS4 and the Xbox One. As such, an entire section of the Groundbreaker, which is the ship that you get, not spoilers, dubbed the bridge, was cut simply to fit onto consoles. Elsewhere, Hines discusses another drawback to this. Obsidian had created too many NPCs for the game max to handle on this current generation. Meaning that a certain number was cut completely from the experience. Quote, "It kind of breaks my heart a little bit that there's not a lot of people moving around on the Groundbreaker. But that was basically because we've got the art pass done and the lighting pass done, and we had to actually pull back on the number of actual characters on the Groundbreaker to fit on the consoles because we just didn't have the memory budget." And of course, these sorts of issues should be the thing of the past with this next generation, as we were discussing just a moment ago, when it arrives presumably at the end of this year. It's clear that teams around the world are pushing the PS4 to its absolute limit, and the PS5 will offer so much more freedom in terms of development. Unfortunately, we'll probably never get to see Obsidian's fully stretch its wings on a Sony platform now that it's become a first-party studio within Microsoft. However, if there is ever a Outer Worlds 2, it most likely will be on PC and the Xbox Series X only. Max.
So, when they're talking about the cutting down of NPCs on the Groundbreaker, I just assumed that's the way it was designed.
Me too.
I assumed that it was supposed to be this sparse area where not many people, because it was kind of just, from memory, it was kind of just a stopover point. You kind of docked there and then you took off straight away.
Yeah,
so
but
it seemed awkward to have. It would seem awkward to have too many NPCs on there because it was very much this stopover point.
Yeah, so if I remember right, once again, similar to yourself, my memory is a bit foggy around the Outer Worlds. But it was like a hub world, and that's what got you between your different locations. So yes, it would make more sense for a ship of the size of the Groundbreaker to have a lot more NPCs and characters within it. That makes sense. So if it's more hustle and bustle, then it's expected to be, like whenever you watch any sort of movie about a space a journey, like your Aliens or your Matrix, there's the Nebuchadnezzars and shit. There's a good handful, there's a good set of people working on these ships. So to have 4 or 5 or whatever the number was in Outer Worlds, it does seem a little bit different, because they're all there essentially as they're not really your crew, they're like your guests.
Yeah.
None of them are actually contributing to the ship's operation. But credit to them. At no point did I ever think, man, this could do with more NPCs.
Yeah, it must be hard, especially if they'd gone to the trouble to design everything beforehand, and then they're like, oh, well, this is now a waste because we just can't put it in.
Yeah.
It's always hard when you're restricted by limitations of the hardware that you're designing for.
Yeah, like the Outer Worlds is like, it was incredibly impressive for what it was. I enjoyed my time with it. And yes, as it said, the grand scale of it wasn't as big as The Witcher or Fallout 4, but Fallout 4 had a lot of empty space and it looked like bum. The Witcher, on the other hand, was just remarkable in the environments it was able to deliver.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it's impressive to see that they were able to reduce it to meet consoles, but also not feel as if it was missing.
Yeah, it didn't feel lacking.
Yeah, now neither you or I played it on PC, so I might even not able to verify whether the PC version did in fact have more, or they just, in an attempt to unify it across all systems, that they just cut it down and left it at that.
Yeah, that would be interesting to know, actually.
It would be.
And I wonder how close to that memory limit they got.
Yeah. Well,
what if they pushed it right to the breaking point, essentially?
Well, the big difference was on the PS4, the memory capacity of the RAM is was 8 gig or something, and very quickly did 8 gig become insufficient. Isn't it pretty standard across the board on PCs now to be 16? But then
yes,
majority of people will probably rock in 13, 64 if they can. So I understand how quickly they hit that line fast. But that excludes, the video RAM and all the other variant RAMage that the console will have.
Yeah, it's interesting for them to come out. Hopefully with the next generations of consoles, hopefully the PS5 will be able to, see developers do what they intended to do and not have to make too many sacrifices to make their game playable on the to be limited by the hardware.
Very, very true. Moving on.
I'll just go to the next one in line. So, no more waypoints. Ignore the burning buildings, and Ghost of Tsushima's feudal backdrop clearly looks idyllic. Sucker Punch wants you to drink in the PlayStation 4 exclusive scenery, so it's doing away with irritating waypoints, hoping that you'll explore its open world naturally. This tidbit comes courtesy of an official PlayStation magazine preview in which it claims that the Seattle-based developer wants you to use, quote, landmarks and your knowledge of the world, end quote, to navigate it. The publication continues, quote, Sucker Punch is no stranger to creating open worlds, but the fairly minimalist nature of the environment is a bit of a departure for the developer. Time in the story will pass as you explore, with titles telling you how much time it's been since the invasion began. Naturally, you'll happen upon enemies as you explore, and you'll have the choice to attack them head-on or stealthily. You'll have a grappling hook for traversal purposes, as well as a handful of gadgets to use. Quote, sticky bombs and fire arrows can help the protagonist spread disarray through an enemy camp, the magazine continues, with the release date still being June 26th as it stands. This could change depending on...
Yeah, so first thing, very interesting that they've really doubled down on this. We mentioned this last week, how that there was no word on them changing the date for Ghost of Tsushima. However, I imagine once this article was printed on physical magazine, even if they updated, they wouldn't have had time to change it. No waypoints. They better be a toggle, is all I'm saying. Because although it's very idyllic of them to have this big world that you can learn landmarks and run your way through and blissfully ride across fields and go through forests to find your next objective, but there are problems with removing the waypoints, in terms of accessibility for one.
Well, I wonder what they mean by there's no waypoints. Does that mean that there's no big square on my screen that says 500 meters this way and this is where you'll reach the NPC? Or are they saying there's not even going to be a compass point on the top of my screen that gives me the direction to move in but doesn't tell me the distance I need to travel?
I have a feeling it might be that. Because
to what extent are they removing waypoints?
Now, once again, because I've mentioned this game a lot in this episode for some reason, Ghost Recon Breakpoint. That had the same thing, as did Assassin's Creed Origins, I think Odyssey as well, where, you could remove any sort of check marker so that it'd be more location based. So it's like, it's about 500 meters southeast of this fucking place. So then it's up to you to then go traverse the location and find it. Now, for many that have like a bunch of time to do all that and aimlessly wander, like I myself, given the option, I'm going to turn those waypoints on personally. That's because of my current circumstances, full-time work, child, son, busy creating content like this. I don't have time to piss fart around. So, like, I will have the waypoints on, and, like, I'm not going to, like... Because I'm very, very open to pissing off the path, I'm not going to be like, oh, there's the waypoint, well, I can only go there.
But you want to know where the path is, at least.
Yeah, I like to know where that destination is, and I think there are some games that actually I get almost like I wouldn't say a choice anxiety, but there is something that comes with going, I don't know what I'm going to do next. And it actually makes me more reluctant to push through the game further. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What about you? What's your thoughts on this one?
Look, I'm fine with not having a waypoint as long as I've got a really good map.
Yeah. Now,
because if the map sucks and I have to remember off the top of my head where all these landmarks are, that's not going to be good because my memory's not so good anymore.
Oh, my memory's trash. My memory's absolute trash. So I completely agree.
I think the best option is, like you said, you're hoping that there is a toggle for the waypoints that if you want them, you can have them. Otherwise, to each their own. I'm in the similar situation to you. My work hours have just increased. I have a 4-month-old baby.
Cass just says, "Get young."
I don't have. You have the worst memory, Cass. Don't even talk to me. Yes, I don't have the luxury to explore the way I would like.
What I would even hope if they were to include like a physical map within the pack, so that way even though look, that is an extra effort, but if you want to go that added realism, having that in front of me as I'm sitting here at this desk, I'll play my games in here, and I'm like, all right, well I'm da-da-da-da-da, and then I look at the map and like, okay, so it's X amount from there and there, and I have it in front of me. That would be a great way to bring that into a. Because that is way more realistic than tagging a fucking menu. But
you just got like pins in the map everywhere to
show
and
red string and looking like one of those serial killers, in a movie. But speaking of awesome maps that come in a game, one game that is really good at providing maps, GTA. They do. Smooth. They always come with excellent maps, by the way. And of course, you can't talk GTA right now without being like, is GTA 6 coming? And on Thursday, Kotaku did break the news that since publishing its report on the working conditions at Rockstar Games during the development of Red Dead 2, the situation has gotten a lot better, and the studio is said to have, quote, a healthier culture overall, which is handy as they are moving into the right direction, they say, which is ahead of GTA 6. In one of his final reports, Kotaku, Jason Schreier added, quote, but there's a catch. Rockstar's next big project is still early in development, end quote. And this makes sense, of course. The developer only wrapped up work on the story of Arthur Morgan 18 months ago and still continues to support Red Dead Online to this day, as well as GTA Online. However, the news led to Rockstar's GTA franchise trending across Twitter and appearing to upset a lot of fans who are hoping the sixth entry would be coming sooner rather than later. It meant that tweets such as Munch mentioned were shared through thousands upon thousands of times. Now, the frustration, according to this article, can be understood to a point. The PS4 generation has been completely starved of a new installment in the blockbuster series, with the Grand Theft Auto 5 being a remaster of the original PS3 game. However, it was common knowledge that the entire studio poured its soul into Red Dead 2 to its own detrimental effect. Now, Max, I think any outrage around this is dumb.
I agree. I don't know why people don't realize that Rockstar released their games at the end of generations. We're not seeing this until the end of PS5.
Yeah, and even then, on top of that, like this isn't the Rockstar of old. Previously, back in the day, we would see them release Grand Theft Auto and then a bunch of small games in between that would help them build up their skills ahead of that next game, right? Because if you compare GTA 3 to GTA Vice City, there is not a lot of difference. The scope of those games were so much smaller. And then, Vice City to San Andreas, yes, it was greater in its scope, but it was still very simplified comparatively, right? They weren't all that different. Then once he makes the jump to GTA 4, huge, massive leap. Then 4 to 5, a tremendous leap again. And so, like, GTA have been able, they've created themselves a luxury where they can use the likes of Red Dead Online and GTA Online to help fund them during this time. Those previous games were only to ensure that money was coming in while they worked on their big tentpole series. Now, the amount of depth and work that Rockstar put into this game, where did they think they were going to be in the 18 months since Red Dead 2? Like, really? Like, this isn't, once again, this isn't PS2. This is them slightly remaking a series of assets and relabeling it as Los Santos compared to Vice City. It's not going to happen that way. They are going to painstakingly build these new, bigger, more involved worlds. So it's completely unrealistic to think that they'd be anywhere but early / pre-production, in 18 months.
Well, especially considering the fact that when Red Dead 2 launched, they knew the next-gen consoles were just around the corner.
Yeah.
So they were waiting on development to start because they're going to be developing for a new console. They, at the time, they might not have known what kind of architecture the console had. They didn't know what they were going to be working with. It's no surprise that they're still in early development. Yeah,
not even a little bit. And to their argument, and to the argument that we've seen online about, PS4 being new generation, new installment of Rockstar, of GTA missing, but look at Red Dead 2. Red Dead 2 is essentially a masterpiece. That game is an incredible piece of development, like skill. Like, that is an absolute, unmeasurably impressive game in terms of its build, its delivery, its mechanics. Everything about that is absolutely astounding. And that is not something that you're going to achieve in like 3 years. That took 5+ years to deliver. And for that reason, whatever they work on next will be exactly the same. Like Rockstar, once again, to reiterate my point, back in the day, Rockstar was all about having a couple different teams doing different things at once, where now they are more of a massive collective, and every division of Rockstar, unless the ones are supporting online services, are funneled to be together on the same title. Because it's that same, people would be shitty if GTA 6 didn't deliver this big, massive, different world to GTA 5.
Oh, of course, especially with how long people have spent with GTA 5 online. They're going to want something new, something that's fresh, something that's completely different to justify what we would imagine being losing all their GTA Online stuff.
Yeah.
Unless they find a way to roll that over.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. It is a difficult call for them to make because, as you mentioned, what if they do transition to another GTA, that then completely kills any momentum GTA Online will have, knowing that there's a new one everyone's going to stop playing. It's the same way when you think about. I remember when we were discussing around the release of Black Ops 4 and Blackout, and I'm like, well, unless they continue to support Blackout, come next year when the next annual release comes out, Blackout's dead. And sure enough, Blackout's dead. And Warzone has replaced it. Like, Rockstar ain't going to do that. And what history has them showing that they would have short bursts in between their big tentpole releases? It's not happening.
Yeah.
Moving on, Max.
Don't be mad. Don't be mad.
I'll be mad at you being mad, Twitter, is what I'm saying.
Something I am mad about is the possibility of a Last of Us 2 release date leak.
Why is that making mad?
Well, because it's obviously... Well, I'll get into it and then I'll explain why. So earlier on Friday, eagle-eyed fans discovered that a new release date had popped up on the Last of Us 2 Last of Us Part 2's Amazon product page. The PlayStation 4 exclusive was delayed indefinitely a couple of weeks back due to the ongoing world situation, and Sony has not yet issued a new release date. Anyway, the aforementioned Amazon page temporarily had the title listed for the release on the 26th of June 2020. If true, it means that the game will have been pushed back just under a month from its previous 29th of May 2020 launch. Sometimes Amazon does leak this kind of information by accident, but there's serious doubts regarding this specific rumor. For starters, a delay of less than a month seems awkwardly short given the current state of the world, and again, Sony stated that the delay is indefinite. The whole thing is completely up in the air. On top of that, with the release date for Ghost of Tsushima also being the 26th of June, it seems a very awkward date for them to release Last of Us Part 2. To release two exclusive games on the same day kind of seems not smart.
Yeah, and we should mention that the 26th of June is the last Friday of that financial quarter. So whenever there's any temporary release dates, it's always the last Friday of the quarter. So in no way is this even remotely close to being the release. Because the idea of indefinitely isn't 4 weeks.
No. Well, it wouldn't have even been 4 weeks. It was like 3 and a bit. So it seems yeah.
It's a bit ridiculous. Like in the difficult times with the Voldemort virus, people want this game harder than ever before. And the idea
don't give us hope and take it away.
Exactly. However, speaking of Call of Duty, as I mentioned a moment ago, Activision, apparently they're still on track. Even with the world's current condition forcing most people indoors, most businesses are being heavily affected in one way or another. And that, of course, includes video games. We're seeing that seeing what this pandemic has done to the PS4 releases such as The Last of Us, big games being pushed back as developers adjust to remote work. It is imagined that similar delays will play out across the board. However, Activision's Blizzard CEO Bobby Kotick is cautiously optimistic about the publisher's future output. In a recent interview with CNBC, thanks to Video Game VGC, I think Video Game Central, I think the acronym stands for, he was asked how production has been. My camera has frozen. Give me just one moment, Max.
It's frozen in the best possible way too.
It did freeze in the absolute best possible way. So big thank you, Discord, much appreciated. In a recent interview with CNBC, thanks to VGC, he was asked how production has been affected by the move to home working. He got, quote, "I don't know that we quite know yet." End quote. Dumb quote. Thank you very much. Most of the things that we have in production development are on track currently, or for now. I think we'll have to really reassess that in a month and in 3 months. The publisher has been making efforts to support teams as much as it can, paying for improved broadband speeds and ensuring everyone has access to all the right equipment. Even so, Kotick says, quote, "It's too early to know what the consequences on development will be for the next year or so." So I like that. It's like, the Activision's still on track. Well, not really. As of this very moment, yeah, I guess.
Does that mean that they're not working on anything? So this issue hasn't been an issue for them yet?
Yeah. Well, or if it means in terms of whatever they're currently working on, whether it be the next Call of Duty as an example, like because that works on that 3-year cyclical cycle. That makes no sense. On that 3-year cycle, they're pretty close to getting whatever the next Call of Duty out is pretty close to the end, right? Whatever the next Call of Duty is, they're gonna have a hurdle.
Yes,
but any games that are closing up their development cycle, I think will be less affected. Saying that though, The Last of Us should have been right on the nose, yet isn't. Yeah, maybe they've still been affected.
Which is odd, especially if Ghost of Tsushima still hits its release date, being a month after.
But I think adding to our original point from last week, I think with the future in general unknown right now, it's hard to predict that if things are sorted by the middle of June, of course they can still release Ghost of Tsushima. But if they can't, they'll delay it. But as of right now, because we don't know what's going to happen the next week from now, let alone 2 months from now, it's best to keep that where it is until the absolute last minute. So same goes for Bobby Kotick here. Is like, in order to stop shareholders from shitting their pants, he's like, look, as it stands right now, everything's going cool. In 3 months' time, who fucking knows? And like, that's kind of where he was getting at here. Is like, it's going to change.
That's future Bobby's problem.
Yeah, that's future Bobby's problem. Bobby can do with that then and there, but right now, I have no idea.
Bob's living in the moment.
Yeah, he's having a good time. He's chilling out.
So this week, Sony also announced their Play at Home initiative.
Yeah.
So people all over the world are doing the right thing. Well, most of us are doing the right thing, staying at home, helping contain the spread of all the things that are spreading. And Sony are deeply grateful to everyone practicing their physical distancing and taking their responsibility as a home entertainment platform seriously. So they're asking their community to continue supporting the safe choice and to just stay home and play video games. As a thank you to all who are doing their part to lessen the impact of the pandemic, Sony Interactive Entertainment is pleased to announce the Play at Home initiative. The Play at Home has two components. First, providing free games to help keep the PlayStation community entertained while they're at home, and finally establishing a fund to help smaller independent game studios who may be experiencing financial difficulties continue building great experiences for all the gamers. To support Play at Home, PlayStation will try and make these occasionally dull moments more exciting by offering Uncharted: The Nathan Drake Collection and Journey available for free for a limited time through digital downloads from April 15th to May the 5th. Once you redeem the games, they are yours to keep forever. So I believe these were both PlayStation Plus games.
Yeah, so they have previously
earlier?
been PS Plus games. Nathan Drake the complete whatever the fuck collection, the Uncharted Nathan Drake collection, more recently than Journey. So for many of the more diehard PlayStation fans, I guess like you or I, these games are like, huh? What?
But in saying that, you should still redeem these, because if your PlayStation Plus ever drops, you don't have access to them anymore. But if you redeem these, you will have access to them always.
Correctamundo. Now, as I mentioned, for the diehards, it's like, oh man, these games kind of suck. These games are fucking fantastic. Like, obviously, with Uncharted, you're getting 3 massively awesome games. Now, Journey's obviously a lot smaller experience, but it's still one of the most beautiful experiences you'll ever play on PlayStation. So my wife, she has a PlayStation in the bedroom where she watches all her DVDs and all her smart television needs. I went in there yesterday and she's downloading Uncharted and Journey. She's like,
nice.
They were free, so I jumped on them. And I'm like, sweet.
Why not?
I think she would really, really love Uncharted. So there are a lot of people that normally wouldn't pick it up, and that's that. Or, you know, they may not be able to afford PS Plus because that is a lot of circumstances. You know, and then in terms of incentivizing, people may play the 3 Uncharted games, be like, oh, and then they see that it's free on PS Plus right now. Bam! Suddenly they got PS Plus.
Yeah, because obviously Uncharted 4 is currently this month's PlayStation Plus game. So you've got the entire series to play now.
Potentially for like the minimum amount of like $10.
Yeah.
That is literally $2.50 per game.
So I wonder if on the 5th of May, when this runs out, I wonder if they're going to drop a new set of games to download, or if it's just this for now. I
think similar to what we discussed before about the unknown of the future. I think having it to May, that's like what, a month. You know, things could change in the next month. But if they don't, they're like, all right, cool. Well, we'll push 2 other games out.
What would you expect them to push if they continue with this initiative?
More first parties. I don't see them being like a big, like Horizon potentially.
Well, I was going to say, do you think we will see the releases of the PlayStation hits?
Look, the PlayStation hits the safest bet.
Those $20 titles or $25 titles, and they just hit us with those, because they're obviously mainly, there are first-party games.
Yeah, so the PlayStation hits are probably the safest bet, mostly because the reason they become a hit is because they've sold an X amount of titles, and they're at a point where even if they undersell the game, they are still going to, their profits have been made. Anything they get now is just on the money, right? And because they own those games as first party, they're more likely to be like, here you go.
We've got Dash in the chat saying, I think it will be more the oldest titles that they can muster, stuff they can't sell much of anymore.
Exactly. It's one of those things they're like, well, we presume that everyone's got it. Dash mentions Infamous. Infamous is actually a perfect example of what they
Second Son is a fantastic game.
Great game. And then especially ahead of Ghost of Tsushima coming out the month after. So, if they release this from between May to June.
Club with no servers.
So if they bring it out from like May to June, and then you're like, hey, if everything happens to clear up, like you really enjoyed Infamous, right? Well, guess what? Sucker Punch are about to release their brand new game. Something like that. Punk says, not sure Horizon will be free for a while as it is coming to PC. That is very, very true. And I think that may play a role. So I think Puck may have caught me there. Anything, you might get God of War 3 remastered. Then they're not going to give away God of War anytime soon. Or The Order might be one. Knack.
Yeah.
For kids that are stuck at home. Knack 2, if you really want to torture your kids twice. I'm trying to think what other ones could be there. Dash also adds, Horizon Zero Dawn will end up as a bundled title with the PS5 to make up for potential costs. It's a good idea. With it being potentially $1,000 AUD on launch, they'll need an incredibly strong title.
Yeah.
But Cass does jump in and go, God of War is only $25. That is true. God of War is part of the hits bundle, so it's very possible. However, I think they're going to move some of those older units, as Dash said, first before they start releasing games that have come out within the last 2 years.
Next month they announce, hey, guess what, everyone? We're giving you Bloodborne, and everyone cries.
But yeah, look, if the smartest way to predict what it's going to be, have a look at what PS Plus games are out there. Have a look at what first-party PS Plus games have come out, then also have a look at what the hits are and go from there. Now, one thing that happened in this release about the Play at Home initiative, Max, they talked about the support for indies in a thing called Sony Heart Indies. Sony's response to the Voldemort virus has been very impressive. The company has been extremely swift in its action against the disease, even as far back as PAX East 2020, being one of the first people to pull out weeks before it got officially announced. The whole lockdown, etc. It has since insisted employees work at home, providing them with full pay and a stipend to acquire any equipment they need. And now it's turning its attention to its gigantic audience of fans, handing out free software, as we just mentioned, and have to get people at home. But it's also not stopping there. Quote, independent developers are vital to the heart and soul of the gaming community, and we understand the hardships and financial struggles that many smaller gaming studios are facing. The president, Jim Ryan, explained on the PlayStation blog. Quote, with that, SIE, so Sony Interactive Entertainment, has developed a fund to support them during this time. We have earmarked $10 million to support our independent development partners. Now, this is a completely tonal shift to what the Sony, the back end of the PS4 we're at. When they started the generation, they were super focused on indies, but then they slowly stopped caring less and less. However, recently there was the movement of Shuhei Yoshida to independent sort of finder guy as well. I want to say Jeff Rice, one of the guys from Double Fine. He's also now involved in, sort of in getting those conversations going with independents. So it's good to see them make that decision to become more involved in the indies again and to support indies in a time where, a lot of them feel unsupported by PlayStation.
Yeah. No, it's really good. I mean, indies are great, especially at the start of a console generation, because more people are going to be picking them up because there's not much else out there to play. Not that you should not play indie games. Most indie games are fantastic. Look at Untitled Goose Game, for instance.
Oh man, my son still plays that on the daily.
There are so many hidden indie darlings that people go unnoticed to a lot of people, and I hope that by Sony earmarking this $10 million that can keep indie developers going through the troubling times.
Yeah, and even it's just something as simple as like helping them pay their rent.
Yeah,
during this time. So even if it's a month,
so they have a studio
2 months.
to go back
Yeah,
to.
so when this all sorts itself, they've still got a studio to go back to in 2 months' time. And that's one of the biggest things that I think are hitting most companies is that working from home is great, but there is something about that office structure or that storefront or something like that that we will be missing in the coming future. What do you got next for us, Max?
So let's talk Gamescom Digital.
Oh, okay. Speaking of, as you mentioned, Gamescom just earlier, didn't we?
So we're all tired of hearing about it by now, but the Voldemort virus has put a stopper on pretty much everything, and that includes major video game events. Gamescom is one such example, with the German show forced to cancel its usual presence at the Kolmesse in Cologne. The organisers said that they were planning for at least a digital show, and it looks like that is absolutely the plan going forward. In a quick tweet, Gamescom has been confirmed to be going ahead as a digital show following Germany's ban on all physical events until the end of August. Wow. Official word now says Gamescom will, quote, definitely take place digitally. Quote, even though not all details are known at present, the nationwide ban on major events until the end of August will also affect the planning for Gamescom 2020. Furthermore, Gamescom 2020 will definitely take place digitally. We will provide further information shortly. There's no fear of the details yet, but we can expect there will be a Gamescom opening night live hosted by Jeff Keighley, giving his multi-year partnership with the event. The dates are still confirmed for the 25th to the 29th of August. Following the official cancellation of Gamescom 2020 in a physical format, Jeff Keighley has taken to Twitter to confirm that Gamescom opening night live will be a completely digital event this year, and it will be streamed live on Monday the 24th of August, presumably playing host to announcements and reveals for the PlayStation 5 games. Keighley broke the news on Twitter alongside a statement from the Expo's organisers, quote, we are, however, working at full speed on a digital Gamescom.
Hell yeah. Because Gamescom, it brings in like tens of thousands of people, like possibly in like the 6 digits of people, right? So it's completely understandable why this needs to be a digital only event, especially under current circumstances.
Yes.
So that's fantastic because it is devastating for us to lose the likes of, as the gaming community to lose the likes of E3, PAX East. Oh, the PAX East still went through. Any potential future PAXs, as we mentioned, like PAX Australia, probably not going to happen. PAX West is probably not going to happen. And then Tokyo Game Show, not going to happen. Like all these different events that just won't happen. So at least there's one place, and they've got till August. There's enough time to really plan out this digital event and really get it together, which is going to be awesome.
Hopefully they can put on a show that's just as good as a physical show.
And the best, if anything, it'll actually be better. Most of these digital events are better because they're better because they're tightly edited, they're structured better, and they can really punch a message home.
They're also wider reaching.
Correct.
Like, there's not a lot of people that can fly to Germany to go to Gamescom, whereas now that it's a digital event, we can go.
Well, previously, like, they
had online announcements and whatnot.
But it's not quite the same. And like having it edited in a way to essentially be like a much fancier and bigger Nintendo Direct. Yeah, I'm in. And also, rather than having it be sort of like, here's one day, day one is all your conferences, they can spread it out over the 3 days. So each day we maybe will get an hour and a half of different release video content from all the people, all the places that we want to see. Like, I don't know about you, that sounds absolutely amazing.
No, it sounds great. It's also nice to know that you're going to get the same experience as everyone else is getting.
Exactly. Yeah, there is that barrier kind of removes. And if anything, this may assist in that transition to the new way of doing things, which is this digital marketplace, when they come to realize they don't need to do these big stage show presentations. Like, they can, granted, trade floors and trade expos still need to happen because that's where a lot of games talk to publishers, etc. But maybe they realize that they don't have to do these big staged events, which are an additional cost on already. So rather than doing these big stage presentations, they can put that money into making a great show experience. You know what I mean? But one game that we'd hope to see come out of Gamescom, Max, is whatever the fuck WB are working on. So we've been waiting for a very long time for WB Montreal's upcoming Batman game, because we have heard rumors that there is this sequel to their PS3 Arkham Origins. And they have been teasing this new Batman game since September of last year, with the mysterious social media posts hinting at a game featuring the Court of Owls, Gotham City PD, there's a bunch of little, and like the Devil's, the Ra's al Ghul's collective, who's, depending on where you go, they have different names. I think it's Head of the Demon. That was what he called. I don't remember.
He is the demon's head.
He's the demon's head. There we go. Thank you very much. I got it all backwards. Fast forward to now, and we're still none the wiser. There's not a whole bunch to talk about. Geeks Worldwide, what a name, worldwide, has this supposed scoop. According to the site, quote, sources close to GWW, Geeks Worldwide, are saying this new Batman game is a, quote, soft reboot, and in other words, this isn't a Batman Arkham title. It's the title of a new fiction. Apparently, the initial plan was a direct sequel to Arkham Knight, starring Damian Wayne, Bruce Wayne's son, but this project was cancelled, and the site claims this fresh start will kick off, quote, a new DC game universe when it releases this fall. So it's coming this spring, so back end of the year. Furthermore, Rocksteady's next game will apparently also be set within this DC game universe. GWW, Geeks Worldwide, also claims to know that WB Montreal's game will feature a co-op of some sort and a, quote, playable Bat family. Presumably by this means you'll be able to take controls of characters such as Robin, Catwoman doesn't fall in the Bat family, bro. Robin, Red Robin, Batwoman, it's awesome, as well as the Cape Crusader himself. Alfred, fuck yeah.
If I can't play as Alfred, I don't want it.
No, yeah, big time. It's hard to say whether any of this is accurate, but the site seems confident in these details. Hopefully, we're close to an official unveiling, with Warner Brothers Games was planning an E3 blowout on its big titles, so we could see the new Batman title soon. Now, Max, I remember hearing so many different things about this, right? I remember hearing Batman Arkham Insurgency was one of the going names, and that was more of almost like a Batman Year 2, because with Origins being like sort of his very early days, like 5 years into him being Batman. This was sort of continuing on that. There was also rumor mill that we're getting a Suicide Squad game, a Superman game, which have some alleged art leaked this week. There's been a lot around DC properties within Warner Brothers, and a lot of them that have been. So if this is correct, that means it's the third DC game to get the can, or to get a reboot in terms of in pre-production. I mean that as in Suicide Squad, Superman, and now Arkham Insurgency, or Arkham whatever the hell they were going to call it.
Yeah, it's hard to know. It's hard to know what is true and what's not here. So obviously.
And also, I've never heard of Geeks Worldwide. I don't know how trustworthy they are as a source.
Yeah, it all comes into how reliable they are as a source. A soft reboot probably wouldn't be a bad idea from the Arkham titles. All I know is that I'm super keen for them to finally announce it. Warner Brothers games a lot of them have been leaked lately, and we have heard nothing about them since.
Yeah, where's my Harry Potter game, damn it?
Yeah, well, there was... Yeah. So, I mean, I heard rumors of the open world Batman game where you were taking on all the separate factions. Mm-hmm. So you had Ra's al Ghul's people, you had the Court of Owls, you had your other people like
GCPD, like Joker's gang,
that
etc.
sounds fun.
That sounds awesome.
Do I want to be punching penguins in the street? Yes.
Hell yeah, I do.
Do I want heaps of tank combat? No.
Please, no one wanted that.
Please don't put me through that again.
No one wanted that. Yeah.
I like the sound of it being possibly co-op. I like the sound of it having possible multiple playable characters.
So to reiterate on your point about the soft reboot and how the soft reboot is a great idea, I think you're completely right. In the way that the Arkham Origins, WB Montreal's involvement in the Batman franchise is seen as this redheaded stepchild, right? Like when you look at the Arkham series, it always gets missed out. Like it didn't get remastered to come across to PS4 with the Arkham collection. So that was just City and Asylum, and then Night was made for PS4. So it was already bastardized then. So I understand, like, why would Montreal want to continue in a franchise that even Rocksteady / Warner Brothers don't care about?
Yeah, and it's nice to know that if assuming that this source is reliable, for them to start making a DC game universe that Rocksteady's being a part of as well, that sounds great. That sounds rad.
It does. It certainly does. Speaking of remakes, Max.
And I need to put the news in a better order.
Well, no, because we have just connected stuff. Like we had a big document today, and we are pulling at different threads, like in terms of getting it nicely flowing.
Sometimes you've just got to go with the segue.
That's right. The segue is where it's at. Max.
Oh no, this is yours.
Oh, is it my turn? Didn't I just read Batman?
I left Resi for you as well, though. I knew you wanted. I knew those were your babies. So.
All right, here we go. According to VGC, that's Video Games Chronicle, as confirmed by this place, our website quickly becoming known as an incredibly reliable source of information and leaks, Capcom has a Resi Evil 4 remake in development right now at Support Studio M2. Original director Shinji Mikami has given his blessing to the project, which aims to release at some point in 2022, presumably on the PS5. Mikami was approached to direct the remake, but he turned down the opportunity to focus working on Tango Gameworks' title Ghostwire Tokyo. Instead, he has provided, quote, informal advice on its direction. One source told VGC that a newcomer to the series will be directing Resident Evil 4 remake in his place. The site in question has gained a reputation as a trustworthy report, so it is very possible this one is right on the money. Fans have been debating online whether or not a Capcom should choose to remake Resident Evil Code Veronica X or Resident Evil 4, and it looks as if the Japanese publisher has gone with the latter. Now, the reason we brought this up this week, Max, is last week the week before when we were discussing Resident Evil 3 and Resident Evil 8 as well, discussing whether it would even be viable to do Resident Evil 4 remake. You and I argued against it, I believe.
Yeah, I'm still very much on the stance that Resident Evil 4 probably doesn't need a remake. I mean, it still has the... I'm pretty sure it still has the tank control system.
Yeah, and that's the one big thing that it would need to change.
That's probably the only issue with it. I'm very much... We're heading into a new generation of consoles. I would like to see something new.
Yeah,
because this is my concern, because this is going out to a different studio, so it's not even so is it not the same people that did the Resident Evil 2 or Resident Evil 3 remakes? I'm
unsure, because off the top of my head I can't recall who the teams were for Resident Evil 2 or 3.
Because the rumor is that they're also working on Resident Evil 8, and you would assume that their main team is working on the next numbered title. So who's doing it? Like,
if this is coming for PS5, this could essentially be the testing bed to how to develop for these consoles. Now, this is something that we found with PS4 as well. From the transition from PS3 to PS4, a lot of remasters were done to test out what PS4 and how it runs. Maybe they're doing the same thing here.
That's all good and well, but this article says that it's hoping to release in 2022.
Yeah, 2 years, yeah.
That's 2 years after the console is
not
launching.
Really. Like if
a year and a half. A year and a half.
Let's say 18 months. 18 months is reasonable, because it's like, but let's say it's on a 2-year dev cycle, right? That's not too bad for a remake, No, and this will teach them how to code and develop for the PS5.
Yeah, but then they've got a 2-month cycle on their next game that they've just tested for. That's 4.5 years after the console's launched that they're looking at getting their first title out. Like, is that what we really want?
No. Yeah, but maybe do you think it's become perhaps more of a remaster than a remake? Because I think the only reason that they're probably doing this at last, and this is why probably Code Veronica X may have actually been a better decision, is because that is unplayable on PlayStation 4. You cannot play it. And if the PS5 is as backwards compatible with PS5 as they're claiming it to be, I could just put my Resident Evil 4 disc in and it will work.
Well, I think the main thing is this is with how well that Resident Evil 2 Remake and 3 Remake have done, I think they're fan servicing Resident Evil 4 because they know people will pick it up.
Probably the safest bet. Absolute safest bet.
And it finishes off that section of games nicely.
And it's a smart it is a smart call, because and then no one gives real fucks about 5 or 6, that's fine. But the issue here, Max, is that they're planning on everyone being able to have access to the PS5. Segue, Max.
Segue. I mean,
that was my segue.
I know, but I was gonna say something, but I lost my thought. It's all gone. So, with the PS5 supply limits, Bloomberg has shared a report which could give us some insight into Sony's plans for the launch of the PlayStation 5. Of course, none of this is confirmed nor official, but the website goes into great detail about how the current virus pandemic has affected the hardware manufacturer's reveal plans and what that means for its release. According to the report, the Japanese giant will produce far fewer PS5 units for launch compared to the total it had for the PlayStation 4's November 2013 release. This is because the console is expected to come in at a high price, around $499 to $549 US. This cost being dangerously close to Sony's infamous $599 moment for the PlayStation 3, but the specs that the next-gen console is sporting necessitates it. Quote, the Tokyo-based tech giant is limiting its initial production run, in part because it expects the PS5's ambitious specs to weigh on demand by leading to a high price at launch.
Vindication! I say that because I've been on like 3 different pods in the last couple of weeks, and I'm like, it's going to be such a slow rollout. Either it'll be delayed or it's going to be so abysmal at launch. They'll do it so they can claim it, and then no one will be able to get one.
So we've got Dash in the chat saying PS5 will be a luxury item, and Sony knows that very well. So elsewhere, the pandemic is having a dramatic impact on how Sony reveals the console. The PlayStation 5 DualSense controller's reveal is said to have been rushed, done via a PlayStation blog post because the design and features had been shared with parties outside of the company. The PS5 console itself isn't in that same position, however. Bloomberg also speculates that Sony may skip hosting a public press conference to reveal the release date and price of the machine due to the current pandemic. Lastly, the website states that Sony is unlikely to delay the PS5 out of its holiday 2020 launch window, especially so if Microsoft sticks to the same target with its Series X. Again, none of this information is confirmed to be true, but coming from a place such as Bloomberg, we can put a fair bit of trust into this report. What do you reckon?
Well, I just want to jump in with what Buddy's mentioned here in the chat. He goes, the PS5 shortage is being overblown. It's only a shortage versus the PS4 numbers, and it's only 6 million versus the 7.5 million units at the end of Q1 for 2021. Factor in the console's cost probably affecting early adoption rates, the PS4 numbers breaking records on launch, current uncertainty with the income and non-essential purchases, and I think the shortage reportedly is a little overblown. I think you're sort of right there, but the idea of like 1.5 million consoles is a noticeable difference. If I remember right, the United States alone sold 1 million consoles on day one. So I'm in terms of how, or within like, I think it was pretty much sure it was day one or within the first week, right? It was something fucking gnarly. So in terms of within the first week, I imagine a majority of that 6 million will be gone.
Well, I mean, put it this way.
How do they allocate that around the entire world?
Well,
like,
put it this
do
way.
we only get 20,000 here in Australia?
Yeah. Well, I pre-ordered my PS4 before launch, and it launched in November. I got mine in February. I got mine on the third wave launch, and that was a limited run.
Yeah. And look, the points he mentions in regards to like current uncertainty with income, etc., and all non-essential purchases, 100%. No worries, Dash. I'll chat to you later. 100%. Like those details are completely correct in terms of people not having the funds to be able to get involved in this. But But then again, like it comes down to definition of shortage, right? If your task is X, if your aimed amount is X, and you're only able to deliver Y, that is a shortage. You know what I mean? So in terms of the use of the word, yeah, like it is that, but it depends on the rollout. There's a lot of information here that we just have to speculate on, and we're not the right people or the smartest people to speculate on this more businessy side of these numbers, right? So it's not it's difficult for us to really be like, oh well, you know, what about this? Because how do you even roll out 7.5 million consoles worldwide? How do you do that? Yeah. I don't know if I can do that.
So, with all this going on, Sony has iterated on multiple occasions that it plans to transition PlayStation 4 owners to its next-gen system as quickly as possible. A new report from Bloomberg suggests that plans may be changing behind the scenes, however, due to the high PlayStation 5 price that we just spoke about. The publication claims that the Japanese giant may attempt to temper the impact of a slow PS5 rollout by reducing the price of the PlayStation 4 and PS4 Pro consoles. It hopes that this will lock people into the ecosystem and simulate lucrative PlayStation Plus and PlayStation Now subscriptions, which have become something of a cash cow for the company. Quote, Sony's chief executive officer, Kenichiro Yoshida, has said that the company will aim to increase recurring revenue rather than one-time hardware purchases, the publication writes. This all sounds like a marked change from PlayStation's original strategy, especially when it was talking about converting users at an unprecedented pace just 6 months ago.
It's a smart call.
A lot has changed in the last 6 months, though. So yeah, it'll be interesting. And it is a smart decision because if you can get, as I said, you get people in the ecosystem, right? If people are buying PS4s now, they're like, look, they're not going to have as many as the free availability of the next generation consoles. You think if you haven't already, pick up a PS4. And they're like, oh, okay, cool. And then you go, because look, PS5 is going to be backwards compatible anyway. Any game that you buy there will be playable on your PS5. Enjoy these games while you can, and then transition over. Then they're like, look, we'll even incentivize it. If you were originally planning on spending $1,000 on a PS5, how about you spend $250 on a PS4 and buy $700 worth of games? Like that is certainly an option. Yeah, it makes sense to lower and new things coming out, you lower the cost of your old stock to start selling it off because you're not going to, you want to make money on the new product line. But yeah, so it looks good, in terms of a nice PR move. But then additionally, it also kind of helps with the business side of pushing old stock out, which is handy. Buddy in the chat mentions they should bundle PS5 with Plus and / rebranded now. Yep, if they are supporting it that hard. Bundling with the PS4 games is a bad look. I have a feeling that bundling, this is just me personally speculating, it wouldn't surprise me if that gets bundled at some point, and maybe doing it with PS4 might be like, hey, it's with the PS4, and guess what, it's now when the PS5 launches, it's coming with the PS5 as well. Maybe it's one of those here's your initial rollout, see how it goes, see what the adoption rate is, then they know whether to push it harder or if to market it differently come launch of the next generation. Yeah, of course. But just today I had someone messaging me. He was a guy I used to work with at the radio station back in the day, being like, "Hey, I haven't spoken in ages, but should I buy a PS4?" I'm like, "Mate, it's been out for 7 years. If you haven't bought a PS4 yet, don't rush for the PS5. Just buy it." Yeah, if you can wait, maybe wait a couple of weeks and it'll come down in price. Yeah, if you can just wait this long, mate, then you're fine. Yeah. All right, let's quickly get these quick bits out and we'll wrap this bad boy out. Sounds like a plan. All right, so quick bits. PSC listings for Days Gone, The Last of Us 2, and GT Sport are fake. The Japanese giant Sony said, quote, "The listings are not accurate. We have made no announcements to bring these games to PC." The Last of Us did also feature as a question on Jeopardy in the US. That's pretty cool. Firmware update 7.5 is live, and you must download it to use online. However, it's just more stability fixes. And the final bit of news for today, I put this one in because I can. Star Wars. There's two. Yeah, but we mentioned that one earlier. Oh yeah, we did actually. Yeah, Star Wars Episode 1 Pod Racer, the beloved racing game, is getting rejiggered. It's getting remastered, and it's coming to PS4 on the 12th of May 2020. Now, I hear some of you asking, "Hey,
isn't Pod Racing already on PS4? It is. It's a sequel, Pod Racer Revenge. But you are getting the Origi-Dig remaster. Don't say fuck that, Cass. That is awesome news. I got a GOG account just so I could play Racer when it came to PC.
Watch it come in at like $50 like Jedi Academy did.
Yeah, and then you know what? I'll suddenly be a lot less excited about it. But anyways, that's pretty much all the news that we could touch upon this week. Any more and you'd be here for like actual years. Max, that's that. What games are coming out this week in a section we call Coming to the Players?
Oh, let me just pull it up.
Probably a smart call, eh? I'll make some transitional music.
Okay.
I drank my water instead. My apologies.
Cool.
Yeah, no worries.
Okay, here we go. So this week, the new PlayStation games for April 21st. Again, this is coming from the US PlayStation blog, so some dates will change for us. Some games may be already out. Some games might not come out at all. We have Aces of the Multiverse, PS4 Digital, out April 23rd. Azure Striker Gunvolt, Striker Pack, PS4 Digital, out April 24th. Deliver Us to the Moon, PS4 Digital, out April 24th. Guard Duty, PS4, PS Vita, Digital Cross-Buy. Help Will Come Tomorrow, PS4 Digital.
Will it though?
We'll have to find out. MotoGP 20, PS4 Digital and Retail, out April 23rd. Obey Me, PS4 Digital. Predator Hunting Grounds, PS4 Digital and Retail, out April 24th. Spuds Unearthed, PS4 Digital, out April 24th. Super Dodgeball, PS4 Digital. Trials of Mana, PS4 Digital and Retail, out April 24th. Wonderblade, PS4 Digital. And that is it for the week.
I think the only one of major note would be Predator. And even then, after a lot of the thoughts and opinions that are out in the wild, not everyone's super stoked on Predator, I don't think.
And probably Trials of Mana.
Yeah.
It's a big remake. Remaster?
Remaster, I think, yeah. I'll do the reach out, though. I'll see if we can get our hands on Predator from the PlayStation.
I didn't mind it. I played the beta a couple of weekends ago. It was pretty good.
Yeah, I'll still reach out, see if they're available, because it might be a bit of fun for us. But is Trials of Mana in your eyes?
Depending on its price point, I will probably pick it up. Being a nice RPG.
Okay. I should also see who's doing the PR for that one if you brought me to. Anyways, that does bring us to the end of this week's big fucking news fest.
Oh, no, right.
Hope we didn't put you all, as I said before, and I'm going to repeat the same joke, didn't put you in a snooze fest. Hope you had a good time listening to all our thoughts on a bunch of little crumbed bits of news. Now, Max, take it away.
So this PlayStation conversation happens every Monday morning at 8 a.m. on podcast services, including Spotify, and 9 a.m. on those YouTubes. If you'd like to be part of future conversations, head on over to our Facebook, our Discord, Twitter, Instagram. All the links are in the description below.
If you want to join the conversation as it happens, head over to twitch.tv/thepopculture, where you can watch us record this show live alongside some other fabulous people like Cass, Buddy, Dash. Who else did we see here? We saw Zill. We saw the Reverend Puck. We saw a bunch of awesome people coming and joining the chats with us. It's been an absolute blast. If you have enjoyed your time here, be sure to share the conversation. Tell your friends, tell your families about this little PlayStation show. Be sure to leave us a star rating on your podcast services of choice and all those kind of nice things. Cass says you're a lot better at outros than intros. That I am. Yes, mate. Almost finished. I'll be there with you in just a moment. Can I do a little bit more? A little bit more? Yeah. All right. My son's harassing me. A little bit more. But yeah, so be sure to give us a star rating on your podcast service of choice. It is much appreciated. Tell your friends, tell your family to either watch us on the YouTubes, download on the pods. It's either way. Any additional listener is much appreciated because we are still very much the little guys. Even here in Australia when there's only like fucking 3 of us. 3 PlayStation pods, so there's that. And we understand that it's difficult times right now, but if you were so inclined, you could support us financially at patreon.com/thepopculturist or our merchandise store, popculturist.com/shop. Thank you once again, Max, for joining me remotely from your little studio office space.
Not a problem. Always a pleasure.
Been an absolute blast this week. I really enjoyed the show today. I got to be really opinionated, and sometimes I quite enjoy that.
It was a nice change of pace, swapping between the news articles, because obviously normally I would do the whole thing.
Or then
we chat back and forth for the main topic, but not having a main topic this week, it really allowed us to dig deeper into the news a bit more than we usually do.
Yeah, and if that's easier for you, we can look at doing that next week.
No, that's fine. I mean, it just was like 4 pages worth.
It was a lot of info today. But anyways, thank you all for watching at home. It's much appreciated. And until next week, I'm Ryan Betson.
I'm Max Cooper.
And that was For the Players. All right, buddy, I'm done now. You can come inside. Here you go. Come on. Yeah.
Are you done?
Yep. For the Players, the Pop Culturist PlayStation podcast is fan-supported at patreon.com/thepopculturist. And we'd like to thank our Patreon producers and our Patreon founders for their kindness, their support, and their generosity. Our Patreon founders: Alpha Ferret, Craig O'Flaherty, David Chataway, Jesse Stevenson, and Jacob Garner. And our Patreon producers: AJ Abatomi, Damien Holdies, Kyle Dunn, Lee Wintershoven, Nathan Massetti, Paul James, Pure Mongrel, and Sean Levitt.